Alrighty guys, we're going to get started. We have as many people online from around the world as in the room. So I want to be courteous to them who are zooming in. So we are going to get started. So welcome everyone, my name is Dr. Anthony. I am a chiropractor, exercise physiologist, and also we made a movie a few years ago that a lot of people have seen around the globe called Overfed and Undernourished. And so I just thought I would share briefly who I am. I'd like to know if I'm going to listen to someone that they're worth listening to. So my story, I grew up in Ballina, so awesome surfing town, the one where people are getting eaten a lot at the moment by sharks. So I lifeguarded that beach for many, many years. But grew up there, super fit, not healthy, which I'll certainly cover today, the difference between the two. I kind of had normal headaches growing up. I thought headaches were normal. Would just give me normal Panadol, and that would put things at bay, and off you go to school. And then I'd finished school. I hated sitting still, so I knew you should go to uni, and so I applied for uni, and I thought I like athletics, I like exercise, so I did a human movement degree, but I deferred that to go to the Australian Army. And I love that. I love the physical challenge of that, the mental challenge of that, and really thrived. I thought I was going to be a sniper and go to the SAS. And then I lost a few weekends from other people doing the wrong thing, so that kind of threw out the window. I knew I didn't want to do that. So I went back and I did exercise science, but I was lifeguarding, I was playing soccer at a really high level, doing my degree, and I woke up one day and the headache wasn't normal. I was literally rolling on the ground, pulling my hair out. The headache was that intense. So Mum, she's thrown everything in the cupboard, in the medicine cabinet in me, and it didn't make a dent in it. You know, so we called the hospital and like, yeah, come on down. And I remember going to hop into the car, and as you go to bend at the last minute, and my head wouldn't bend, and I just smacked my head on the door frame. My head was already pounding. Some of you might get a sense of what I already had. I had meningococcal, where, you know, a lot of us, we carry meningococcal in our nose and in our throat, and when our immune system is so depleted, it gets into the spinal fluid. And typically people die or lose limbs. So 2-3 people died that week in the hospital. Fortunately, I didn't. But our voyage create our values, right? And so, man, when you almost lose your life, health becomes really important to you. So it set me on this journey to understand what not just got people well, but what kept them well for a whole lifetime. And I don't mean short term. I mean, you know, I want to study the healthiest people who are living the longest on the planet. You know, consistently living over 100, you know, people still bearing children 60s and 70s, but they look like they were 40. You know what I mean? And so I didn't just go to uni and learn the kind of, this is what it says in the textbook. So real life experience, and I think really that's the value that I can add to people. Because when you look at health these days, it's so confusing, right? It's like tonight's topic is pretty narrow, it's on nutrition, but even that alone, like do we eat paleo, do we eat vegetarian, is chicken good, are eggs good, what about sugar? Well, sugar's bad, is fruit bad? And people are just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do anymore. And they're so wound up about what they're putting in their mouth that it's not healthy anyway, because the emotions they have while they're eating, or the emotional state we're in while we're eating, or we're eating on the run. So I'm going to cover as much as I can and make everything that's complex really simple. All those in favour, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carried. So that's me, my story. Let's start broad for a second, then we'll get really granular. What is health? Ooh. So for those of you at home, if you want to jump on chat, you can have your own little party on there and type in what is health or where you think it comes from. Health, World Health Organization said health is a state of optimal physical, mental, social, spiritual well-being. Not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So let's break that down. In essence, what it means is just because I'm not sick doesn't mean I'm well. And I really want you guys to get this, because most people judge how well they are by whether they feel good or they don't, whether they have symptoms or they don't. And the word symptom means a sign of something else. And most of our body has nothing to do with symptoms. So right now you can't feel your kidneys and your pancreas and your heart and your stomach and your lungs and your liver, at least you shouldn't. But they're just doing their thing, and it's called autonomic. It's your autonomic nervous system. It sounds a lot like automatic, doesn't it? Because it is. You don't have to tell your heart to beat, even though it's going to do that 100,000 times every day for you. Think about for a second what you ate at breakfast. Have a think about it. It's already you. It's already you. Isn't that crazy? It just grew your hair. It just replaced some lining of your stomach, right? It just created some tear ducts for you. You are literally what you eat. Well, kinda. You are what you don't poop. Is the truth of it. I'm going to cover that tonight as well. So I want you to think about then, well, where does health come from? I know if you're a patient here, you already know that. There's something orchestrating it, isn't there? There's something controlling, something supervening health. And if we don't get this right, everything I teach you tonight is void. Because you could be putting the right things in your body, but if you're not absorbing it, you're not digesting it, you're not eliminating it, it's useless. So I want you to think about this. When a mummy loves a daddy very, very much, and they have some special cuddles, and we'll skip that part, but then what happens is two cells come together, don't they? And those two cells form one. Then they divide and they go 2 and 4 and 8 and 16 and 32 and 64 until eventually they become tissue. And who knows what the first tissue is? It's your brain and spinal cord. And you are that by 7 hours. Isn't that crazy? So if you think about where does health come from, health can't come from anywhere that wasn't us at the beginning. Does that make sense? It's the genesis of health. So if health came from those initial cells, and then we are a nervous system, and then from 7 hours to 9 months, it's our nervous system that literally gives life to the rest of the body. Do you think it's important that our nervous system is in a good state? It is the best kept health secret. So I wanted to just hit you right in the face with that from the get-go. Because if you don't know that your nervous system is functioning and healing properly, then, as I said, you could be eating the right things at the right time, the best stuff, the best produce, organic, but you're not coordinating it. Because it's your nervous system that coordinates to release the right hormone, to the digestive enzyme, and so that you're absorbing those things. Pretty cool, huh? So if you have never had your spine professionally checked to see the state of your nervous system, please do that. You know, if you're on Zoom in Belgium or Amsterdam or New Zealand or somewhere, reach out to us and we'll send you to an awesome place to do that. If you're on the Gold Coast, you know, obviously here at Body Brilliant, that's what our expertise is. That being said, you want to eat to enhance the intelligence of your body to allow it to do its best work. So let's go back a second. How did the one cell know to divide into 2? And how did that know to go to 4? And how did that know to go to 8? There was something animating that, wasn't there? There was an intelligence inside of us. And I think in today's age, we really kind of skip over that. That there's an intelligence, there's inborn. So we call it our innate intelligence. So health is an inside job, right? Think about this. If I fall and I graze my knee, what does my body automatically do? Forms a scab. It starts to heal itself, doesn't it? And that's the body's natural response. But there was like 1,000 cascades of different chemical reactions to release the right chemicals and the right endorphins, everything for that process to start. And we didn't have to think about it consciously. Now, do some people heal better than others? Do some people have stronger immune system than others? Even within the same family where they have the same habits, right? What do you think the difference is? The person who has the strongest intelligence, and guess what? That intelligence could only flow over one thing. It's the first thing you ever were, nerve tissue. So we're going to park this in a second, but I don't want you to miss it. Everything I'm going to teach you and why this is different than what mainstream is teaching, your body's already amazing. It's perfect. Your body needs zero help. It just needs no interference to allow it to do its best work. So that's where I'm going to double back to this later. So instead of looking at health through an allopathic means where we're treating symptoms and we're counting calories and we're looking at fats and proteins and carbs, that's all kind of man-made, made-up stuff. Instead of just getting back to how do we allow that intelligence to do its best work? That's what you're going to hear from me all night. First step, make sure you're in the right state. By state, you've got to have the pressure off your nervous system. The second one is this. Think about people's posture when they eat these days. What does it look like? Everyone do it now. 1, 2, 3. And everyone here did this. People at home are going, and it's usually like this, right? It's usually on a phone. So everyone just go into that slumped posture and take a deep breath in. Now come up to a good posture and take a deep breath in. What did you notice? It's like double the capacity, right? When you do this, what is it you think it does to your digestive organs? Contracts it. And if you're not getting proper nerve supply there, you're not getting proper blood supply there, you're already behind. The second thing, when you eat, you want to be in a state of gratitude. Think about yesteryear when we would have to go find our food. When you did have to go hunt, fish, go pick the berries, go harvest. Man, you think you're going to nourish that food and just be grateful for it? All the effort? The challenge with today is this is what we do. The shopping trolley, boom, boom, and then it's we scoff it down. So if you start to look at the food, slow down, turn the electrical devices off, sit with people like we used to in a tribe, right? And you start to ask, what am I grateful for? And you start to ask that question within the circle or to yourself. And you just give a moment to thank the farmers and where that crop actually came from. And it's kind of almost like a sacrifice to your body, isn't it? Without getting too foo-foo. But I promise, what starts happening, the digestive process is already happening because you start salivating. Digastric juices start releasing to the stomach and prepare you to eat. And so all that saliva starts coming in and the pancreas starts to release the right enzymes and the stomach acid is ready for the food. If we don't do that and we don't take that initial moment, then we're ready, we're putting things into our body cold, so to speak. It's kind of like rev the engine when you haven't warmed it up yet. So that's the first thing I want you to get your head around. Be in the right state. State of your nervous system, state of your posture, state of your mind, and so that the state of your body is ready to receive the food. All cool? Who could do better at that? Me too. Most of this workshop is just me talking to myself about what I should be focusing on again. So please don't feel like I'm up here talking at you. This is talking with you, right? So that's why I run these workshops. I see so many people. We're at the markets one day, and there were a couple of girls behind us, and they were talking about whether they should buy the avocado or not because it's got so much fat in it. And they were reading on the internet that a Tim Tam has less fat in it. And so that would make better sense because it's tastier anyway. And I don't get the fat from that. And I was like, oh my gosh, we are so far off track. So instead of counting calories, we want to count vitality. Okay? We want us to get maximum nutrient density into our body rather than thinking about, so think about this, and this is a writer down. You can categorize food as protein, carbohydrates, fats. They're macronutrients, and that's how mostly we're taught to look at things. If someone's done a nutrition degree or they're a dietitian, if they're in the hospital, that's what they're going to be looking at. Not the quality of the fat or the protein, not how much vitality it has in it, not the micronutrients, your phytochemicals, your vitamins, your minerals, your trace elements. It's just those macronutrients. I'm going to ask that we just set that aside for tonight and think about food from a really common sense point of view, although it's not that common these days, is it? Common sense. In fact, if you're at home, just reach under your chair. Everyone here is going to just reach under your chair. Do that for me. And you're going to find a hat there. So pick up your hat. Show me your hat. This is called your common sense cap. All right, so if you're willing to put on your common sense cap just for the next 30 minutes, you can take it off if you don't like what I say. But if anything I say to you isn't common sense, then just go, no, I don't buy into that. And I think that's part of what I want to teach. Just because you saw it on the internet or a current affair or the dietitian said it or the chiropractor said it, if it doesn't resonate with you, if you go, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't feel right, listen to that. Because that's your intelligence telling you. The only place where you get screwed up is we're so bombarded with media, advertisements. This is the other crazy thing. Turn the television off. Please don't eat in front of the television. And you're seeing like people being killed on the news and war and all this stuff. Don't do that. So let's look at food as common sense caps. Everyone agree? Got your common sense caps on? Make sure to adjust it. Make sure it's there. It's all good. Let's look at food as plants, animals, and processed. How's that feel? Pretty easy to categorize, isn't it? So if we look at plants, should we eat a little bit of plants or a lot of plants? Lots. Why? What are plants good for? What are they made up of? Antioxidants. What else? Nutrients, phytonutrients. There's fiber in there. There's some protein. This is the thing, guys. For it to have its structure, for that to be celery, it needs protein. Protein is what creates the structure of it. And we're going to cover the protein myth tonight. There's vitamins, there's minerals, all of the energy parts that run our systems. That's mostly what's in plants. We'll come back to plants. What about animals? Do we eat a little bit or a lot? Little, lot, none. Who's in the none category? A few hands go up. I'm going to talk about some stuff that might challenge you. I don't have a stance on it. I'm just going to ask you questions. You got to consider this. If you are so charged about something, what are your beliefs around it that make you so angry about it? Does that make sense? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. Just make sure it's you. What I teach my kids, I've got Xavier here, my eldest. He's going to come teach you guys some stuff later. There he is, after he builds his train. He's the baby whisperer. If you put something in your mouth or in your family's mouth and you don't know what it is, then you deserve the consequences of whatever happens. Does that make sense? And that goes for anything you put in you or on you. Because that's the next advanced workshop we do around detoxing and how do we be in this environment and decrease the toxic load on us. So make sure we get along to that next workshop. But if you don't know what's in that thing, then you're putting it into your mouth, how dare you? Especially with your children. Like it's just kind of a roulette. I hope that's okay. I saw it on the ad. It must be okay. Because the food company has no vested interest, do they? So with animals, I was a vegetarian for a decade. I raced the Hawaiian Ironman, and when I was training for that, I did 9 months a year for 3 years straight. And an average week was about 500 Ks on the bike, 100 Ks running, and about 20 Ks swimming. It was like another job. It was like 30 hours a week. And I had this massive goal. I was definitely possessed. My wife could affirm to that. I wanted to race at the Hawaiian Ironman. It's a prestigious race, like one of the toughest one-day events. And I did all of that as a vegetarian. So I don't particularly care what your choices are. I just want to make sure your choices don't come from a place of fear. Because most people, they're feared into, if I don't have the meat, where am I going to get my protein, right? And so let's put our common sense caps on, just wiggle them around. At what stage of life do we grow the most rapidly? As a baby, right? And so if you think about what's the nature's way for us to get our nutrients as a baby? What's ideal? Mama's milk, right? So if we looked at the protein concentration of mama's milk, what percentage of that do you think is protein? 2, 6, type away in there, have your own little party on Zoom. Yeah, it's about 2 to 3%. So, who watched the MMA fight on the weekend? The guy's a vegan, right? And he smashed the guy because it was all over the social media. Because the guy's like, oh, no one could ever become a champion who doesn't eat meat. They're just not going to get the protein. And the vegan smacked the guy and won. So that's a bit embarrassing, right?